Welcome to another episode of the Icarus Idea. It has been a while, but we're back. And not just back, we're back with an epic guest, one of the most impressive guests that we've had so far on this show. As always, let us know what you think. Leave a comment if you have any questions for our guest, if you have any questions for us, any big brain moments, any small brain questions. Hit us up on Instagram or whatever. And for now, enjoy listening. Hey, welcome to the Icarus Idea. My name, as always, is Joris. I'm here with two other people, as usual. One of them is Bram. And Bram, would you care to introduce today's guest?
Yes, let's do that. All right, welcome back, everyone. So this month, it's May, we will be doing the car month. Over the last few years, the car industry has gone through changes. Since carbon emissions need to be scaled down, cars need to be more environment friendly. And while we mostly focus on electric cars, there are a lot more alternatives, such as hydrogen cars and what we're going to talk about today, solar-powered cars. We are speaking with the chief of design and co-founder of the company that will deliver the first long-range solar-powered cars to the market. This company is called Lightyear, and today we're talking to Koen van Ham. He started this company with multiple friends in 2016 when he was in the student solar team in Eindhoven, where he also studied industrial design. So welcome, Koen.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for making the time.
Excited to talk with you guys today.
Let's go. Well, then let's just get right into it. We were thinking, we looked at your LinkedIn as usual, and we thought, well, okay, tranquilo. Not your usual LinkedIn, but this whole solar car story, let's leave that for a second. You started this with the solar team Eindhoven, which is quite not necessarily a usual student thing to do, but there's a lot of students that do a student team during their student time.
Which I can highly recommend. Yeah.
Why, or not why, I was wondering, is there like any other most typical student thing, or what kind of student were you when you're doing your studies in industrial design?
That's a great question. I would say very atypical, but what kind of student were I?
Yeah, what kind of person was Koen van Ham when he was doing his bachelor assignment, or when he walked into the first class of his bachelor in industrial design?
I had a hangover.
Well, that's a good start. Yeah. And look what you've become.
I was a student as well, and I enjoyed all the student things, right? So the freedom, the ability to meet new people, to make new friends. That was a very big part of my first year. I got only the hang of it after 1 year, so it took me a while to get a grip on this. In the beginning, I was also a bit struggling with the English language. Sometimes I had to ask my friend Jelle what was being talked about in the presentation. I didn't have that much contact with fellow students. I had more contact with people in the house I lived with. Most of my lunch times, then I had been working in the workshop, and I was working on a prototype. And then I had lunch with this whole group that lived in my house. And then I did, this prototype was quite big, so I had to put it on the table. And then I already started to see some of the people smiling. Oh no, what the fuck has Koen been working on? And then I had to explain it. And of course it was way too far-fetched. And that pulls you a bit back into reality, but it also forces you to explain your reasonings and to explain your thoughts. Industrial design students wouldn't ask these questions because they already made these jumps in their thought process, so they would approve what you've been making. But these guys, they would just question what you have been making. And then, it helps you to get back in the world and to find the real value of what you're trying to achieve.
To be among other students, is that why you joined the solar team, or among other studies?
No, I think I only realized that later on. I think I joined because I really liked the challenge of building a vehicle. It was a coincidence that I did found this project because I was working for a multimedia company, de jongens van het TU. I was doing a website design and programming part-time. And Lex or Roy and a couple of his teammates were joining us for lunch because they had some questions on how they could do their marketing and build a website, stuff like that. And then during that lunch meeting, they said, yeah, we're almost complete as a team. We're only looking for an industrial designer. And and then I knew, okay, I need to get there. I need to apply. So next, after the weekend, I did apply, and I had a talk with Lex and Roy about my previous projects, and then I could join them as well.
Damn. Well, you need an industrial designer. I happen to have one of those. Nice. Well, you mentioned that it took you a year to find out what the potential of industrial design is. Well, I wouldn't say I have done something similar, but my first year of my studies weren't exactly like, wow, yeah, this is going to be it for the rest of my life. But what did you find after a year, and how did you find it that convinced you to, let's say, stay?
In my second year, I met Joris van Gelder. And he was the first coach that was able to really taught me things about designing. He was very critical, so you also had to work for him. So I think I needed someone who challenged me. I need to be activated and challenged, and then I will perform. I think that was the first time I created something in 3D and started to make a render, and also the project was nice. It was the first time I felt, this is actually quite nice what you can do with product design and with interaction design.
I can imagine, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. All right, I think it's enough student talk, right? I think it's time to move on to the cars. And I'm doubting with which question we shall start.
Well, I guess let's dive into the beginning. Because
sure.
We read on your LinkedIn that after 2 world championships, you decided to take the next step. But saying like, I will start a car company is maybe one thing to say it, but to actually do it is a whole different thing. How did that process came about?
The first thing was that, I always hoped or dreamed about that this team would eventually continue some way. And then the crunchies happened. So that's a prize by TechCrunch. They call it the Oscar of the tech world. And we were nominated against Apple, SpaceX, blockchain, and NASA, ESA.
Just to name a few.
Just to name a few, yeah. And well, we took the chance. We set up a campaign page, and we really did what we needed to do in order to get votes, because it was a voting race. Well, then we were invited to America, and then we sat in the Symphony Hall in San Francisco, huge hall where the prize ceremony was. People like the founders of LinkedIn were sitting there, right? So you were among the big tech people. Yeah. And and then they announced the winner of our category, and we won. And getting this recognition from all these people, that was really when we thought, well, okay, the world wants this. And eventually we said, well, we're just going to start a company and we'll see what we'll do.
Yeah. For me, it seems so scary to start a company which has a product that won't be released within like a year or something. I guess if you start something like, well, I see a watch in front of me that you can release it to the market in like a year. And that's a year maybe full of risk. But a car, it takes like, 4 years maybe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or even longer.
4 or 5 years now, right?
Is it completely scary in the beginning?
Yeah, scary. No, I don't find it scary, but it's nice the first moment that you finally can shoot through the fog, right? So in the beginning, you don't have a clue how you will reach the end of the process. You don't know the steps in between, and that's what I find really interesting, to learn the process of designing a new product, right? That you know all the steps you need to take, that you know all the deliverables you have to deliver, that you know bits and pieces of the processes that are needed to get there. And eventually you learn the building process of a vehicle.
How do you find out those steps? Do you go to someone from BMW and you're like, hey, how do you do this? Or do you Google this? Like, where do you get your knowledge from?
Yeah, so you speak to lots of people. You try to reach out to experts. There were, of course, a couple of automotive experts in our region in the end, we found a Grand Studio headed by Lowie Vermeersch, and they really became like a brother to us, right? So someone who you can ask anything, and they know it, and they explain it to you how it works. Most people said it's not possible because there's so much to do, but they were the first people that said, well, it's possible, but you need to do all this stuff. It's not. It will be hard, but it's doable if you just manage to do everything. So we learned lots from them, and they really helped us to get through this first process of designing a vehicle and explaining all the steps that are necessary, helping us to create the deliverables on which they then could design a vehicle. So we were preparing all those inputs to them, and they did then the quality check and took it to create to base their design upon it. So that was it was like a boy's dream. To be able to learn from them, but also to work with these great experienced designers.
I heard the story on how you got in touch with Grand Studio on the other podcast, and it amazed me. I loved it.
Yeah.
Maybe could you maybe tell it just so the listener also knows it, because I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So where to start then?
Well, you were already in touch with them, and then you went to Turin.
Yeah, we were in touch with a couple of design studios. We were doing a workshop with another one, which was great. It was also a really great company, but they were a bit more focused on mature companies, which we're definitely not. So we needed more the broader experience, right? So we were there. And we had contact with Grand Studio, but they were a bit hesitating. We were not that far. We didn't have that much of funding. And I was really in doubt what to do with the situation. And then my girlfriend said, while I was there, or I think while I was there together with Arjo, she said, why not just, they're based in Turin, she said. Yeah, I said, yeah, they're based in Turin. Yeah, why don't you go just visit them? Why don't you just ring the bell and see what happens?
Why not?
Why not? And I said, yeah, but can you just do that? Is that okay to do? And then I said, okay, fuck it. We're here in this is bigger than me, right? I have to push aside all the conventions I'm used to. I just go for it. The world needs this. So we just headed to the office, and me and Arjo. And we were still discussing whether it was a good idea to ring or not, because you can also piss them off, right? Yeah. We really like their approach, but yeah, you could also piss them off and ruin the relationship if they didn't appreciate it. They are Italians. We didn't know, right? What they appreciate and what not.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually we rang the doorbell, and one of the partners, one of the founders, did open. Simone let us in. Asked what we were doing there. We said, well, we just want to talk with you about designing a vehicle. And he said, okay, let's have a chat. And we sat there for I think 2 hours. And within these 2 hours, he explained to us what the process would be when we did a vehicle with them, and what the cost would be. And that really opened our eyes, because it was the first person that really sat down with us and just tried to explain, you have to do this, and then that, and then this will follow, and then you have this, and you can choose to do, for example, or you don't have to do a clay mock-up, which costs loads of money, but you can also work with VR, which is way faster. So all these interesting steps in the process to make it feasible for a startup. We were, of course, shocked by the money that was needed to do it, but eventually also that came around, and we managed to start with them.
Yeah, but is your role then as a designer to combine the technical aspects that are designed within Lightyear to that company in Turin, or what do you do as the designer?
Well, in that process, they know very much. They are very capable, right? So they. But they also design vehicles that are definitely not a solar vehicle. So we know how to design an ultra efficient vehicle, and they need to create the styling for that vehicle. So, and then I'm talking about aerodynamics, but also vehicle layout. So the position of the H point and the occupants, how they're sitting, what is their sitting comfort, how is it related to other vehicles, and what is the minimum, right? What is the minimum that we want to go for? So all these, it's really if you pull one string, something else breaks, right? It's that game that you have to play for 2 years, and design is also one of the strings that you can pull, but it has a very large interplay with aerodynamics. So you guide the process and you define who will be the customer, what is important to the vehicle, what features will be in, what features will be not, stuff like that. I would say I was more a manager than a designer, but that's also a designer, right? Yeah.
What is your role right now then? Because the car seemed almost fully defined if I look into your site. So I guess it doesn't really need to be designed anymore.
Right.
So where do you come in play then?
What I do nowadays.
Yeah.
I asked myself that question. No. No, so the vehicle was finished for 95%, but now we have to industrialize it. We created this first prototype, but industrializing is making sure that it can be produced. So you have to get all the information from manufacturers into your process, into your design as well. And one of the challenges is at lighting. So lighting is a very costly development effort, since homologation is quite strict, and you are doing optics, right? Optics is quite hard. So those are some of the challenges we are currently facing. So we are doing some updates and some improvements on that. You also did make some mistakes, or you see some improvements. So that also takes lots of my time nowadays.
I was wondering, you mentioned that you want clean mobility for everyone. Now that I've heard the backstory of how Lightyear 1 started, it makes a bit more sense. But I was wondering why you didn't, for example, try to achieve this working for a big company like Volkswagen or maybe Tesla, because it's a bit more in the same direction. But I think next episode we might be talking to Jelle Chebbes, which I think is the friend that you talked about all the way in the beginning. That had to explain.
No. It's a different Jelle.
Different Jelle. Oh.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
At least we're going to talk to him, and he's the senior design strategist at Hyundai. Yeah. And I think he can have a huge impact as well on the mobility industry. So, did you ever consider working for such a company?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, sure.
And why didn't you do it?
The problem is that they have to allow you to do it, right? Mm-hmm. So I did reach out to a couple of OEMs when I graduated, but you have to be hired, right? If you're not hired, then you cannot start working there. You cannot make the change. I don't know if it's a problem, but the hard thing is to enter as a generalist such a company. They normally only hire specialists, because when they set up a vacancy, they have a problem and they want to have someone to fix that problem. Mm-hmm. So there is already a team, and this team is also doing much of these tasks, or they need someone who is a bit more expert in this sort of thing. So usually they attract really the experts, really the specialists, really the people who are doing sketching for 20 years during their studies and started when they are 5. Or people who have a very great sensitivity for aesthetics and want to become a car designer. And you can start as a junior car or as an intern and then follow your path. But you will never enter such a company as a strategist, right? Or as a generalist working or having the opportunity to start a vehicle from scratch. You will always be working on a very small component. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so sometimes it's easier to do it by yourself than to do it for somebody else, because if somebody else doesn't know that he wants the same, or
fair enough,
right? Yeah.
Sometimes it's just easier to start a car company than to get a job.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. But it just sounds funny.
And the impact is so it's interesting to ask to Jelle what his impact. So what is his impact and what can be my impact, right? It's totally different, but maybe in the end it's almost the same, because he can slowly and step by step try to impact maybe next vehicles or impact a bit the course a very big company has.
Yeah.
And I can impact a lot the course of a very small company. So maybe in the end, your impact is the same. I don't
Just
know.
a different path.
Yeah.
I was wondering, you talked about earlier as well that lighting was one of your things that you didn't expect would be so much work. But are there any other unforeseen problems or unforeseen things that you have to deal with right now that you've never imagined you have to deal with as a car company?
Yeah, on the one hand, of course, you're a founder, so you also follow the funding process, you follow the hiring processes, you follow how the company is growing, you sit in board meetings or you sit in stakeholder meetings. And on the other hand, you try to perform your job as a chief design as good as possible. Are there things I didn't expect? No. Yeah, what do you expect? Maybe I didn't expect that much.
Yeah, if you don't have expectations, you can't. Yeah.
Well, maybe let me give an answer in this way. Each phase of the company brings new challenges. So, for example, now the biggest challenge I see is procurement. So is sourcing all the parts that make together the vehicle and getting a contract with this company that can deliver this part to you. That's right now a very big challenge. Just because, well, maybe you don't stumble upon the website of this provider, or you don't know the existence of this supplier, or maybe it's too costly to go for this part, and then you have to change your design to integrate a different part. So that's a very big challenge. But when we started 4 years ago, I would have said, no, this is not a challenge at all. The challenge is to get to a first prototype, right?
Yeah.
And to get to the first sales. So it depends a lot on the phase the company is in. And I'm sure that when you call me within a year or 1 or 1.5, and we're in the midst of a production, that there are lots of challenges in there that I didn't foresee right now. But procurement is definitely one of the big challenges that you don't think of when you start a company. And also the other thing is, when we started this, well, it was only maybe for a week that we hoped we were going to build an actually vehicle. But as a founder, you're not going to build a vehicle. You're going to build an organization that builds a vehicle.
Yeah.
And that's a totally different thing.
Yeah. Does it ever bother you that you're building an organization instead of building a vehicle?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And that's also why each one of us has a different path, right? So someone is very good in building an organization, and you also attract people that have experience in management, and you need those people, and other people are better at something else. So you try to do what you're best in, and that's when you start a company. That's also very important that you know when to let go of certain tasks, right? And you give them over to somebody else. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenge for founding a company. But then also having the ambition to grow it really, really big, you need the help of others, and you need the help of others that are better at you in certain tasks.
Yeah.
So you have to get over that.
Get over yourself. I think it's time for the final 2 questions.
I guess.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, so Koen, 4 years ago, you set yourself the goal to build a car company, which, in my humble opinion, is quite a brave and big goal, relatively. What goal do you have for the next 4 years?
To get into production with our next vehicle.
With the second vehicle?
Yeah, with the second vehicle.
Do you already know when the first car is set to be released?
Yeah, we're aiming right now on mid of half or the half of next year.
Then, final question, and I think this is an interesting one. We asked this to everyone, all our guests. What advice would you give to current industrial design engineering students?
Yeah, I have lots of stuff, of course. Well, get out of your comfort zone and out of your bubble, and also start talking with electrical engineers, with mechanical engineers. Try to do a student project, because that's where you will learn how much you can add to such a project. That's where you finally see, wow, I did so much project experience. I learned so much about this and that, which all the other people are not doing. Why are they not doing it? Maybe it's because I learned that during my studies. So then you find the true value of an industrial designer by working in such larger projects. Yeah, and learn how to program.
Yeah.
Just start doing courses. Please do it.
And what type of programming are we talking about then?
Start with a bit of JavaScript or Arduino or processing.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of it. Just it's very nice when you build your first script and it actually works, right? And everyone can do it. If you can build a PowerPoint presentation, you can also prototype.
Yeah.
I think the second one, the do bigger projects, like student projects, I think that is a very, very good one, because lately we've been figuring out that a lot of industrial designers, among which ourselves, find it hard to explain what value they can add to a company or what value they have as an industrial designer. And it seems that you suggest that doing such a bigger project with different kinds of people, different roles, then you can find out, hey, this is my added value.
Yeah, and it makes much more sense if you have the experience on your own. I can tell you what your value is, but you won't believe me, right? But if you experience what your value is, then you will take it for granted.
All right. Then, with that final sentence, go experience on your own what your value is. Koen, thank you very much for your time, for your insights, for your stories. I can't wait that one day maybe I'll be able to afford a Lightyear 1 or a Lightyear 2. We'll see. Yeah, thanks again to you listening. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions to us again, or to Koen maybe, send us a DM, send us a LinkedIn, send us an email. You know where to find us by now. Let us know what you think, if you liked the episode, if you have any ideas for new guests, new episodes, improvement.
Everything.
We would love to hear it. And then that's that. Thank you again, Koen.
Thank you, guys. Nice speaking to you.